And you played up all night long. I know I said I played too, but I had enough of this town. If only I could get around.
Come on in, take your shoes off, have a seat, and welcome to another episode of InRetroSpect, the monthly retro video game review show that takes a release from 15 years ago, lines it up with the love of games, a critical eye, and the benefit of hindsight, and sees if it can solve the puzzle of whether that game is still interesting, relevant, and most importantly fun today. This month then, a somewhat momentous title in gaming culture with the end of an era, and Warios Woods. What can you expect from Warios Woods? On the one hand, it's the swan song for Nintendo on the machine that made it what it is today. The machine that single-handedly saved the video game industry from obscurity. But it's also ancient hardware, and as mentioned on the last podcast, video games are one of the few art forms that are constrained and sometimes defined by their technological leaps, and Virtua Racing suffered from being the automobile equivalent of Icarus, trying to attain the impossible and ultimately failing. Will the design standards of the time be too much for this aging home system? A system first released in 1983. I'm interested to see if Nintendo can pull one final trick out of the bag, as they tend to make their final releases on their platforms rather special. Kirby's Dream Land 3 on the SNES and Zelda Twilight Princess on GameCube being two prime examples of this. I'm going into this wanting classic Nintendo, a vibrant, charming game world with the immaculate design template that, at the time, only the Big N could provide. So, this is the last licensed release for the NES, a system that brought the world Mario, Duck Hunt, Zelda, Metroid, Punch-Out, Donkey Kong, and Excitebike, and these are only some of the Nintendo first-party titles. And the console eventually saw well over 500 titles officially released. And the last licensed release is a big one. A whole 512 kilobytes of data, no less, which is approaching the biggest sized games on the system, towering above the smallest title, Galaxian, which could only bring a very paltry 8 kilobytes to the table. So, who would see the console off? Well, for some reason, it's not Mario. Filling those very big boots is our pint-sized hero, Toad. This is his first time as the sole lead, having been in the original Super Mario Bros. As the bringer of bad news at the end of every castle, and he shared the limelight with a certain plumber as a playable character in the Western sequel and Doki Doki Panic reskin Super Mario Bros. 2. The villain of the piece is the titular Wario, his name an etymological grafting of the Japanese word for bad, Warui, to the name of Nintendo's mascot and his goody two-shoes alter ego, Mario. Whilst this isn't his first appearance, it is his first in a puzzler, but not his last. In 1995, with increased competition from consoles boasting polygons, disk drives, digital video, and over 2 controller buttons, the NES would be discontinued. It was the end of an era, with Nintendo firmly established as leaders of the game market they created, and it would be a few years yet before their grip would start to loosen.